That's when I started really questioning, like, how smart is some of this stuff, it being unprepared. Like, when you tell people to go out in the wilderness, you should have your first aid, you should have this, you should have so much water and all these things. And doing this sport, you definitely push the limits of that.
Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations, because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. This costs money to run, and you can support this podcast by becoming a sustaining member, liking, subscribing, commenting, and most importantly, sharing with your friends and family. If you're interested in advertising on the podcast, please contact me at theendurancestudio@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Before we jump into the podcast, I want to mention a few companies that make products that I just think are incredible and I can't stop talking about. The first one is Squirrel's Nut Butter. I did a podcast with Chris Thornley, the co-founder. It was incredible to learn more about the company and his background. So they make all kinds of different lubes for chafing and when running and bikepacking. So go check them out, squirrelsnutbutter.com. I do have a promo code. It's TimberFriends, 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 for 10% off, and squirrelsnutbutter.com. And the other company is also here in Flagstaff. It's Catula. They make gaiters and running traction. And I've recently discovered how incredible the running traction is, and I've been using the gaiters for a really long time. And they're just really great people, amazing company, and they're always making better and better products. So go check them out, catula.com. And the last one is Dispersed Bikepacking Gear. This is Katie and Andrew Stremke. They make their own bags, bikepacking bags, and they just make incredible stuff. They're both super accomplished bikepackers. And Andrew has completed the Triple Crown. That's the Colorado Trail Race, Arizona Trail Race, and Tour Divide, all in 1 year, all on a single speed. So I'm going to buy my bags from a person who has gone through the bikepacking gauntlet if I'm going to buy bikepacking bags. So go check them out, dispersed.bike. Wanted to take a minute to remind you of the few different ways you can support this podcast. You can, of course, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell as many people as you can about it, and get those listener numbers up. You can also support it financially. It does paying out of pocket for this. It costs money to run, traveling around, buying the production equipment. I have dreams of scaling up my production equipment and doing multi-camera. I'm just on the single camera now, because that's all I can afford to put into this podcast. But if you want to support and help me grow this operation, you can do so in a couple different ways. The first way is on YouTube. You can become a member. You can become a recurring member, and you would get all kinds of perks out of that. You can also give one-time donations through their super stickers function. And you can also now on Spotify through their listener support feature. I'll put the links in the description in the podcast notes. You can give one-time or recurring donations there for financial support. So thank you very much. I appreciate those of you who have already supported and believe in this thing, and I want to keep this thing rolling down the tracks. So support me if you can. Today's guest just finished the 2024 edition of the Pinyons and Pines bikepacking race and has an extensive ultra endurance resume, including racing the Tour Divide, the Arizona Trail 750, Stagecoach 400, Smoke and Fire 400, Comstock Epic, Coconino 250, Oregon Outback, California Sierra Trail Race, Trans Norcal, JP's Fat Pursuit, and many more. He is 62 years young and an ambassador for OTSO Cycles. I'd like to welcome to the podcast my friend, Blake Bockius. So to make a totally long story short, after like a decade of taking time off from production work, I was like, I think I want to get back into. I did a video. I know what it was. I did a video for the Pink Bike Academy. You know that?
Well, I
YouTube
do,
video?
but not a lot about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you just make your own videos and submit, and then you go on
Uh-huh.
this like reality show kind of.
Oh, wow.
And they have like challenges and stuff, and they have a variety of different types of riders from different disciplines and countries, and I was really like, I was like, hey, there should be a bike packer on there, because they were doing challenges like oh, you got to navigate, you got to take this GPS and navigate up this mountain, and I'm like, I could easily blow everybody out of the water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there was one where it was like you had to hike your bike or cross, it was like a multi-sport kind of thing where you would have to hike and then go and fill up your water over here. And it was like, this is really easy. Like,
yeah. I'm right in my element, man.
Yeah. So I applied for it and I made a video in the process. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. I actually enjoy this stuff again. But this time I'm doing it for me and not for anybody else.
Yeah. You can kind of direct it to your interests.
Whatever I want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm just going to make this, because I was kind of topped out at work too. And I was kind of like looking for looking for purpose, or looking for like something else to fill kind of the mental void that I had. And so I just started doing season bike packer content that was like playing around with stuff. And then the podcast was like, let's do a podcast. I'm a little late into the game, but like,
why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm catching up a little bit, because, I just haven't, put it on my radar, but I like hearing you, and I just say that you seem to have interesting folks, and that's what I just told a friend, because I was like, I'm going to do this podcast, and it's got some really interesting guests and some good topic.
Thanks, man, coming from you. That's like awesome, because it's just people I know, people I want to talk to, and people that I've met.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. Like, I kind of stay below the radar a little bit, but because I've never been one of the, not Kurt Refsnyder or anybody like that, but I've been doing this a while, and it's my passion, to be honest. Yeah.
So let's back up, because I only got to know you last year.
Last
Pinyons
year.
And Pines. We met at the top of Mingus filtering water. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was talking about whatever the uranium or whatever is in the minerals in the
Totally. Yeah. No, I remember meeting you for sure.
So, but you've had a long resume of Tour Divide, Arizona Trail Race. Like back in the.
I kind of went through it last night because I had to jog my memory, because it goes back. I mean, not as long as a lot of folks. I'm not, at the roots of the sport, but once it goes back, and then I had my brief lapse, like I told you. Yeah. So, I was just going back at it, and I was doing pretty well at it, So anyway, if you want, that background stuff before we start or whatever.
Well, we're rolling. So,
okay. We are?
We're going for it. Okay. So we can, So I'm just flowing into it with you, man.
All right. So let's see. So,
let's go way back.
Where I started?
When do you first remember a bicycle in your life?
Oh my God. Well, forever, I love riding my Schwinn, apple crate when I was, what was I? 9 years old or something. Yeah. And then I had BMX bikes, and even in high school, when I wasn't into like the strain of this sport and all those kind of things, I had a bike, and I'd ride from Colorado Springs to Denver, and my mom would be like, and I didn't know, like, where am I going to get some water or do stuff like that? Yeah. And in college and everything, but I didn't really get into the whole, I mean, obviously mountain bike didn't really pick up speed until kind of the mid 80s. And that's when I got my first mountain bike. And that's when I got completely addicted to mountain biking. And it's probably on my mind, mountain biking every day. Yeah. Since then,
And you've always been kind of mountain bike heavy versus the other.
Yeah. When I moved to Tahoe in 85, I had a mountain bike that I bought at a ski swap in Vail before I moved out there from Colorado. Didn't really know what mountain biking was, but I thought it sounded cool. Yeah. And my neighbor had a Richie, whatever. He's like, you got a mountain bike? Oh, let's go. And we went on a ride, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best freaking thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, because I love getting in the wilderness, backpacking, skiing, you know, whatever the sport is. But combining both of those was just, yeah, that was right there where I wanted to be. So
Yeah.
from that point, it was like,
And
yes.
this was like old school mountain bikes, like
Yeah,
long stems.
hardtail. I had this Bianchi Grizzly. That was my first bike.
Okay.
And actually, it's
The
in
Grizzly.
Vermont in my buddy's dad's barn. And I'm like, I got to get my hands on that bike,
Dude,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hang that up somewhere.
You know, and we had, you know, they're kind of like motocrossy brake levers. And that was even before like V brakes or any of that kind of stuff. Rigid, heavy bikes.
Yeah.
You know,
And
you look back and you're like, how did we, you know, ride some of the stuff we rode?
super like narrow handlebars and long
exactly.
stems. And very short
And there
travel.
wasn't like, we were riding a lot of where I was, Jeep trails, single track, Pacific Crest Trail you could ride at that time, which was right above where I lived on the west shore of Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
You know, we just do these epic rides up there and ride these trails that, you know, yeah, you wouldn't see anybody else on mountain bikes. And then it started, you know, obviously the sport got more and more popular, but
yeah.
And then I moved to Truckee and there wasn't really a lot of riding there, mountain bike riding. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of a bummer, but that's really picked up speed. Yeah.
It's pretty
riding. Yeah.
It's a pretty primo spot now, right?
It is. It's insane. I mean, yeah, I talk to my kids. I'm like, I think we have one of the best places to ride. When I go riding anywhere and I come home, it's like, yeah, we have so many options.
It's what, like an hour outside of Tahoe?
Yeah, hour north.
Okay.
Well, not even an hour. What I mean, it's like without all the tourist traffic, probably 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's really close. Yeah. We're always claiming to be Tahoe, but we're not. We're a little far out of Tahoe.
Yeah.
Doing that. But
so you have lived there since you moved?
Yeah, I moved there in '85, and I've lived in the area. I'm still there.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got a sweet van.
I got my van, so I'm kind of easing into not working as much as I have in the past, and so I've got the van, got the bikes, and doing some stuff, and like to do it with my wife and my kids, and you know, they're older, both in their late 20s, early 30s, so and they like to ride. We all do it.
Nice.
It's fun.
So when did you got your first mountain bike, or you started to get into mountain biking heavy, and then did you kind of scale into distance stuff over time?
Well, I didn't race until I was in my 30s, and I always have buddies. You know, I've always been a good climber, and I was a maniac descender, you know, in my younger years. And they're like, you should race. And that was the early days of, even before Norba, some of the big mountain bike races were in Tahoe, you know, like the Tahoe Roubaix and all these races that don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
And then finally, on my 30th birthday, I got convinced by some buddies to go do a race called something cool. It's in the town of Cool, California.
Okay.
And that was my first mountain bike race.
Okay.
I didn't really finish well, but I was like, that was fun. And then things steamrolled. And then really what got me into endurance was doing the Leadville 100.
Okay.
In the mid 90s. And I did really well the first time doing it. I didn't know, like 100 miles. It seemed impossible to ride 100 miles. I'd never done anything like that.
Yeah.
And I finished really well, way faster than I thought. You know, I was like, oh my God, I'm going too fast. This is crazy. I'm going to bonk. Something really bad's going to happen. But I ended up in the top 20. And so I've done the Leadville 100 7 times and been in the top 5 multiple times. So that's kind of what spurred me into the endurance thing. Like, I'm pretty good at suffering. So
what did like nutrition look like in the 90s?
Back then it was, for me, there were a few things going on at the time, but I had hooked up with some friends whose family had the product Goo going, and so I'd get some Goo from them. Laura Delorier, her father, started the product, and you know, I think they were still tinkering with different ways to use it and putting caffeine in it and all those things. I think I told you the other day, and so it was all about doing the Goos. I had the big, you know, kind of container squirt bottles of goo that I would do along the way. He was pretty adamant about trying to stay away from the solid foods and stay on that, And then we would do, I can't remember what it's called, but a powder we'd put in our drink. I know John Stamstead was using that stuff, and I remember like, okay, that's what we do, and a little bit of goo, and drink a lot of water,
Yeah.
I think I didn't have as much knowledge as I probably should have, at the time, but suffered through somehow and, got enough calories, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Figured it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So that blasted you into endurance stuff. And then when did bikepacking come into the picture after? Because that's a day race,
kind of
right?
as Leadville 100. So that I had read, Mike Ferrantino read an article about Leadville 100, and that's kind of what spurred me on that. Like, ooh, that sounds cool. And then somewhere, I don't even know where, I heard about the Tour Divide. I think it was pre that, with what John Stamstead was doing, and because I followed along with what he was doing at the time, and thought, obviously he was badass. And those guys were basically doing ITTs, I think, I don't know all the history of it, but on the Tour Divide. And I'm like, well, that'd be really cool to do, but, I got a job and a family, and, that'll probably never happen. But so I took kind of a hiatus too, with my business and having kids and all of that from really racing and, dipping my foot here and there. But when I was 50, I'm like, you know what I really want to do is the Tour Divide. So I saw the movie,
Yeah.
And so it just worked out. It was during the recession, work was slow. And I'm like, I think I can make this happen. So
this was 2008-9 recession.
Yeah. So the year I did it was 2012. So it was just
after.
Yeah. Just coming after it, out of it.
What was the business?
I'm a general contractor,
okay,
builder. Yeah.
Okay. So you got hit really hard.
Yeah. We in Tahoe, like they were issuing 2 building permits a year or something at the time. It was pretty bad. But I went through it, rode bikes more and skied more, and worked less. So it worked out.
Was there seasonal work before that in Tahoe?
I mean, in our business, it's not even seasonal anymore. We just go, 12 months a year, like full bore. It's pretty big, especially now. Yeah, it's crazy. So, that's kind of how I decided to do the Tour Divide, and same kind of thing. Didn't know how I would do it. And I ended up doing an ITT because the Grand Depart landed on my son's high school graduation.
Yeah.
It took me a couple months to figure that out. I was planning all around it, and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. And then I'm like, wait, you can do an ITT. So I started like 2 weeks later, I think.
Yeah. And
I did run into some of the Grand Departers along the way, at the back of the pack and stuff like that. And, but I was out there mostly by myself. It was an insane experience.
Was that the only time you've done it?
Only time. Yeah, I've always wanted to do it again because I learned a lot, obviously, and I thought I could go a lot faster.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in my life, it's too long ago. There's no way I probably could do that. But, I always wanted the opportunity to go back and do things right and sleep less, do all those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a mountain biker, were you kind of like surprised that it was kind of a gravel route, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've always been okay with that aspect because I came from the early days of mountain biking.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't always single track. And I just like being on the bike, and I like being on the bike all day long. So it's like, it was fine for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that though. A lot of my bike, mountain bike buddies are like, what is this? There's no single track,
right. Right.
Yeah.
You hit any weather or anything?
I did. Yeah. I would say I hit the monsoon pretty much, probably 2 or 3 days into Colorado, and I was getting rained on like every day.
Okay. All day, every day?
Hammered. I mean, even when I finished, my wife drove by, on the paved road, getting close to the finish, like waving at her, don't want to have any contact, and, see you at the finish. And, it all of a sudden, lets loose. I'm just like, of course, it just rained. Every day I got hit by thunderstorms.
Yeah. And I mean,
I was a little more durable then. Now I'm like, oh my God, I would have been
when the tech,
my ass
you
off.
know, the rain gear,
Yeah.
quality of rain
Oh, I had
gear.
like this heavy ass rain jacket compared to what I carry now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always just so interesting if you just keep drawing that line backwards to
Yeah.
like old school turn of the century mountain explorers who are
Oh
wearing
yeah.
like
Like canvas on and
canvas
stuff.
and like
Yeah.
wool boots or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, like it's like,
Yeah.
how do these
Kudos to
people
him, man.
pull this stuff off? Like
Yeah.
it seems like the people before us were always tougher because they always had better or
Oh
worse
yeah.
gear, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So they always had
I
to.
have a hard enough time with all the great technology we have now. Believe me, it's like God. Plus the weight of just carrying all that gear would be insane.
Did you have airro bars? Was that a
I
thing?
did. That's the only time in my life I've put air bars on my mountain bike. I
Okay.
was so happy to rip those things off.
Yeah.
I'm kind of not a big aero bar guy. I mean,
Mhm.
you see them in every one of these events pretty much.
Yeah, you seem almost like an anti-aero bar
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. 'Cause I think a lot of people are always wanting to prepare for the Tour Divide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even at this event, I bet there was a handful of people that had their Tour Divide set up and, you
On
know,
Pinyons?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they just want to have their aero bars and whatever the popular bike style of the time is.
Yeah.
Aero bars obviously have been popular for the Tour Divide for a while, but I never, yeah, I just not an aero bar guy. I can't get comfortable in them at all.
Yeah.
I use them more to just strap bags of potato chips and stuff like that on them.
Yeah. Yeah. It does offer different hand positions. For
Yeah,
me,
it
that was
does. I
one
mean, there's a
thing.
great benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
if
they're
you
almost
use
like
them, but
comfort bars.
I'm just not good at using them. So,
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if I do something like that in the future, I'll probably try it again. But yeah, just getting my body. I think I would have to train for it and get my body used to that position on the bike.
Yeah.
for sure.
It's over time. It just
Yeah.
it makes a significant.
Oh yeah,
wind,
I mean,
you know, the
obviously, you're
wind.
just like, I mean, I had some days for sure where you're just like straight into the wind. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, on Pinyons though, I added the Ergon GS2s with the bar ends on them.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I had not really used bar ends on a mountain bike before,
Right,
but I'd
yeah.
seen them all over the place. I saw the Strumkeys and
Yeah.
all the like top of the food chain.
I'm a believer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they almost were.
I haven't used them in a long time, but yeah.
It was amazing. Like
I almost put them.
you know,
I have some old pairs. I have the pair I used in the Tour Divide. I
Yeah.
almost put them on for this race because I had injured my wrist
mhm.
and I wanted a more comfortable hand position because that flat bar position's kind of just torques on it, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just continued to move in. I'd do like technical single track, move my
Uh-huh.
hands in,
Yeah.
and then move them right out.
I
for the
just sit on
climb.
my bars even in that position without bar ends a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, I did that for Arizona Trail 300 last year, and it didn't work as well. My hands got
Yeah.
completely destroyed. Part of that was I
It's
had
weird.
really bad brakes too.
Uh-huh.
I had like 12-year-old XT brakes with 160
Yeah.
millimeter rotors, and they weren't the best,
Yeah.
but it was a last minute bike switch out scenario with a mechanical on the other one. So, but now I'm on 4-piston brakes, 180 millimeter
yeah.
rotors.
I haven't dipped into that
XTRs.
yet even, but yeah, one of these days.
So maybe that made a difference too, but like
Yeah.
also there wasn't nearly the kind of technical riding on Pinyons this year that there was. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
bit, but it was like all front loaded on the first day pretty much.
Right. My hands were bothering me this year, even though I've been running the Wolf Tooth Mega Fat Paws.
Oh yeah.
And they have a lot of cushion. And I used them last year in the Smoke and Fire 400. And I was like, wow, this is the first time my hands aren't bothering me after one of these.
Really?
Yeah. But this year I had some, it seemed like it started almost immediately coming off that first single track down.
Off a heart?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was like, God, my hands. Yeah.
That's a long descent.
It is. Yeah.
It's a very long climb. Well, it's not. It's an hour. It's like
Yeah.
an hour climb, and then
Mhm.
it's like this never-ending descent. Like you get like down the technical stuff at the top, and then it just goes on forever and ever and ever. And
Yeah.
I think my hands have hurt every time I've ridden
Yeah.
that. Any time of
I didn't
no
do
matter-
well in the descent. I was just kind of like off my game a little bit and like, you know,
It kind of was
one
a
of those.
shock to the system. putting
Yeah.
that,
I
like,
was, I
at the
guess I
beginning.
wasn't really prepared for it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we
whatever.
could have put it at the end. Would you have liked that better? The other
No, I
direction?
was happy with the end you guys put together. That was pretty nice. I'm usually like getting beat to shit on one of those finishes. Like, oh, we got to go up another mountain. Like, you know,
that
something
was
like
on
that.
the table, but I was like, hey, let's do it at the beginning. You know, it'll
Yeah.
kind of shake out the pack
It's
a
kind
little
of
bit.
nice
And
too, because you get a little opportunity to meet a few folks and socialize on the climb,
right,
and kind of get into it.
an hour-long road
Yeah.
climb. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So what else, since we're on the Pinions topic,
Uh-huh.
um, what else did you have any like gear choices that you regretted or things you wish you would have brought?
I can't think of any regrets. I could have gone with a narrower tire. I ran 2.6s just because that's what I had on the bike, and I was meaning to put, some 2.4s or something. I knew that was kind of a big tire and didn't really need it.
Yeah.
Um, but they worked out fine, gave me a little cush. I'm sure, that was helpful. And yeah, so no, all my gear worked out pretty good. I was running some different stuff. Seems like every time I do one of these, I'm trying something different or switching things up a little bit. But
Yeah.
the bike I rode was the first time I've ridden it on, on a bikepacking trip.
And that was the OTSO fin rear.
Yeah,
Is that how
and
you say it?
it's
Finrear?
kind of designed for this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I was checking it out this morning.
happy to have that bike for sure.
Is it a pretty new
It's
release?
been out a couple years.
Okay.
They have a stainless and a Thai version.
Okay.
And so
Stainless
I'm
steel,
back
huh?
riding titanium in the first time in a long time, which is great because I love titanium bikes. Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
What is that with the Thai bikes?
I don't know, but
there's a feeling, right?
there was a lot of Thai bikes at this event.
There's a lot of Thai bikes at every event.
Yeah.
I mean, the last
Yeah.
5 years they've blown up, man.
I mean, I've always argued like, hey, you can ride whatever type of bike you want. And I've had some great carbon fiber bikes mainly over the years. So it's fine. You just kind of have to protect them more and tape them up and make sure the bags don't wear through the carbon. I've worn holes in carbon bikes before. So it's just, I like the idea of the sustainability of titanium, or any kind of metal is more sustainable than carbon. It's not a real environmentally friendly product. So
Also, the process isn't. It's made by,
exactly.
There's who
I
knows
mean,
who's
that thing,
making
it's going to last forever, but
Yeah.
it can be recycled, So there's some good things that way.
Yeah.
But they ride well too. So
Yeah. There is definitely a feel to a Thai bike.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a vibration thing
Yeah.
or what, but there's like a long. It just kind of clicks, is like those long grindy climbs and
Yeah.
and I've hit stuff with my because I had a Thai hardtail.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it to my dad when I bought the Epic Evo, but there was a moment where I was like, I think I might go all the way in single speed Thai hardtail, going like that club single speed Thai hardtail.
Yeah.
Just because there's like all this evidence that shows that there's something to that on these races. It's the longevity of the simplicity.
Yeah.
The single speeding thing has its own like lane in advantages and disadvantages that seem to lend themselves to ultra long distance stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I think for especially routes where you're going to be off the bike and, or even if you're on it, you're going to be going so slow that you can probably walk just as fast, those kind of things. Yeah. I had that bike built most of its life so far as a single speed, but I just recently put gears on it. So.
And you rode it geared for Pinions?
Yeah. I don't have it in me anymore to do something like this. I used to ride a lot of single speed. In fact, the bike I rode my first, event, the Tour Divide, was a single speed, and I put gears on it, and that was the last time I rode single speed. So this year I was like, I want to start riding some single speed again. I used to race on single speeds, and so it was fun during the off season. But my knee doctor's like, maybe you want to put gears on.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So your knees. You have knee replacements?
I did. I've had, my left, it's only my left one. The right's been great.
Okay.
But when I was 17, I had my first knee surgery on my left knee.
Oh, wow. So this has been going on for a while.
I've been bone on bone pretty much since then, which is amazing that it's kind of lasted that long with what I do and the skiing and everything else. So, yeah. And so 6 knee surgeries in my lifetime on that left knee. And finally it was time. All right, that thing's done. And I got a new one, but it took a while I went through a whole process. It's a long story, but a lot of surgeries and kind of put me away from doing this stuff for a few years, to be honest. Skiing, I didn't ski for 3 years, and I ski every winter pretty much. And so finally over the last, I'd say 2 years, I've been getting back at it, and it feels great, but in a different way. Like, even doing this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sleep 4 hours every night, and I'm going to ride hard for 20 hours, and that's kind of how I approach it now. I'm not trying to go through, the night particularly, or, just go straight through, or not bring a sleep kit and all the kind of things I used to do. So,
Yeah.
and I'm enjoying it actually. It's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Because you've now seen both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like, and, like in hindsight, would you change anything when you went that hard back in those days?
Yeah, I remember, on social media, people would bring up like, why don't you, enjoy the ride? Why would you just ride straight through? And and it's like, you're doing it for a different reason. You're not doing it to, I mean, obviously the beauty of it, the new places, that's what one of the big attractions, but also it's, pushing yourself and seeing what you're capable of and what your limits are and all those things. So
Yeah.
that's what falls into it. But that always goes through my mind, like, yeah, I'm missing out on some things, because I'm not seeing all these things or meeting all these people along the way or hanging
Right.
out or, all the other things that maybe some of the other riders are getting in the experience, So,
Right.
yeah.
It's just I'm in the middle of that because I used to be a few years ago kind of the back of the pack guy who just would like talk everybody's ear off, the annoying guy, that
That's
would
great.
like.
Let's
But
stop at the brewery and get a beer.
yeah,
It's like, that
and
sounds
then I
awesome.
started to get like I started to figure a few things out, and then something lit up inside of me like I could go faster, I could sleep a little less, and I kind of got
Yeah.
the bug for that, right? And
Yeah.
I know it's probably damaging my body and my brain in the long term, but it's a trade-off, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's
It
a lot of
is.
other
Yeah.
things in this world that also
Yeah.
damage my body and brain and the food that I eat and things like this, right?
Yeah.
So like it's a balance, but at the same time, I can't quite put my finger on like, why do I keep wanting to torture myself? But it seems like this is this common thread between all
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that. Yeah, that same thing going on for sure. That do this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was a replacement for an addiction.
Yeah.
For an addiction, addictive personality. Right?
Yeah. No, that's very common in ultra sports in general. I know a few people that were drug addicts, alcoholics.
Yeah.
And now they're endurance aholics. I mean,
that's 100% me, right?
Yeah.
Like no question.
Yeah.
It poured it over. I quit drinking, and I was like lost for a year, and then I watched one of the Tour Divide videos, and I was like, I want to do that one day,
that's cool.
Right? And then it was like, okay, I can now get all the same feelings of it's even more powerful than drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, by far.
In this weird long-term satisfying way, right? Because it's like this blend of accomplishment and pushing yourself, but also you get all the chemical release stuff. Like right now I'm currently kind of still in the afterglow from Pinyons. You know?
That's awesome.
And so that's why I do it. I know everybody has different stories, but I'm on this pursuit of figuring out like the why behind this thing,
Yeah. Personally, I have not figured out the why. I think almost every time, this time I didn't push myself super hard, so there was not too much whys, but most of the time there is like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
That comes up, it's like, there's other things I could be doing, or I can do this in 10 days and do it a different way. But there's some attraction to it that I can't really pin it 100%.
Do you ever get like guilt? Like you should be home doing something else or spending time.
Oh, for sure.
Else?
Mainly before, like on the drive down here, even I was like, oh man, I should be doing this. I'm going to do, but that's my nature. Like I'm kind of a go-getter, and I have stuff that always needs to get done, and things that need to be taken care of work-wise or family-wise or whatever. So yeah, but it is a selfish endeavor. I've always thought that, like, I'm doing this all for me. I'm not really helping out anybody else by doing this.
Yeah.
So, and I take away from other things in life by doing it. Whether it's the training or the rides or whatever. Yeah. So it's definitely a me thing for sure. But
yeah,
I'm surrounded with people that really support me, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Including my wife, and my kids love it. And so, yeah, it's cool.
They all participate and ride too. So who knows?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's cool. So other races, we'll circle back around to Pinyons because I got a few like
Sure.
real
Okay.
questions on there, but I want to go back to like Tour Divide, and after that, there was also Arizona Trail 750 mixed in there, and you got second, I think.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
What year was that?
Uh, okay, so that was 2012. I think it was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then I was looking after Tour Divide. I was looking, okay, what's next? What can I do? This is
like
awesome.
early Arizona Trail, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think it'd been going for 4 years or so, maybe. I think Kurt Sandiforth won the year before, so I was watching what he was doing, and I've since then become friends with him, and we've actually raced together, and he lives nearby now. So I was kind of intrigued what he did, and I'm pretty sure it was the year before I did it. And at that point, I knew like, okay, if I train hard and I do well, I can, maybe I can win. I don't know, I'll give it my best shot. Um, but I had some issues early on in the race, fell back quite a ways. But then I really got in my mojo, and it was just like, yeah, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Well, not probably, it was for sure. Yeah.
What were the issues?
Early on, I'd say the biggest issue was coming into picket posts. I forget the river you come to before, and then you have the big climb over
the Gila.
Yeah.
You
So
get into
get
like
there.
the ADOT
I
station.
think there's a place where you can get water at a trailer park or something.
It's like an ADOT yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't go there. So.
Oh man, you can get pizza delivered there now.
So I'm like, I just climb over that thing, get over to picket post, and so I ran out of water. And on the way up, there was some caches up there. And I had this like, of course I'm like, I don't want to take everybody's water. So I took a little bit of water, but I ran out of water.
In Martinez Canyon. That is super.
And it was
desolate.
over 100 degrees that year. Yeah. So that's the first time I put myself through something like that. I mean, I've been dehydrated, but that was insane. I couldn't swallow. It was probably an hour and a half until I got some liquid in me.
Oh my God.
Without any water. And so at that point, I'm like, oh, well, I won't die. People have survived all those kind of things, because I was unfamiliar with the route where, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, finally got to picket post, and there was a bottle of Sprite under the tree there, and grabbed that 100-degree Sprite, chugged that down.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. And so then I'm like, okay, well, just got to reboot. And so when I got access to the first hotel there by the McDonald's, like I got to hunker down and, just reboot and get my shit together. And so I spent the night there, and, I think in the meantime, a lot of people passed me. Got up in the next morning though. I got a good night of sleep, and cause I think I checked in even before it was dark probably. And that, it's crazy, and I don't even know how this worked out, but that was my best day on the route. I just hauled ass, and I passed just about everybody except one guy, Max Morris. And I remember passing Shell Money, and he was like in a tent. He was like early morning, like, hey, like kind of wanted me to wait up for him. Like, I'm on my way somewhere, man, hopefully to Utah. And yeah, so from there it was just like a beat down, of course, like everybody knows that has done that event, like survival mode. And yeah, it was super tough riding some of the stuff that we were just on. The Highland Trail was definitely the toughest part, I think. And but yeah, I just kept pushing to the border.
Yeah.
I was kind of really close to Aaron Denberg, and he actually I was ahead of him for days. And even my wife would be like, have you seen Aaron Denberg? And I'm like, no, he's like right on top of you. And I'm like, he was kind of kept me going, because I wasn't chasing Max as much. He had a pretty good lead, and so I was just pushing, but I didn't want him to catch me. Then when I got to the canyon, I kind of rebooted there too and got a hotel, and he slept on the rim, got ahead of me, and then I was chasing him through the canyon. That's another area I thought I did really well, was through the canyon. I just pushed straight through and when I got to the north rim, Aaron was there putting his bike together.
Yeah.
And he had a slight issue with his axle. I don't know what the whole interface is on a Specialized, but he had lost a part. And it was really emotional running into him. I'd just gotten to meet him because we traveled down there together through some other parties. We kind of left a car at the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was emotional just having not seen him for days on end, and we were both kind of battling. And when I saw him at the North Rim, that was like, yeah, I was just like, oh. And then I felt so bad for the guy because he couldn't continue riding on his bike, you know.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was going to be a close finish between him and I for second, third, or whatever. I don't know how it would have worked.
So he disassembled his bike and like lost a little piece.
Yeah,
that he
so
needed
he
to
couldn't
reassemble
mount
it.
the rear wheel.
Oh my God! And
Yeah.
there's like no workaround for this.
And it was cold,
Yeah.
really cold. And so I'm like, okay. And so I knew where his car was, parked at the finish, and he had a minivan there, and he gave me the keys, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna ride straight through. I'll get, you know, we'll get the car. You know, we had no cell, especially back then. I'm like, I'll figure out a way to find you. And, you know, we'll figure it out. And so, oh, and that all he didn't have any sleeping gear. Like he had a Mylar sheet
Like,
or
yeah,
something.
like a,
And
like
it went, I think it was like below 30 that night. I was freezing my ass off that night. And so when I actually had to bivvy down. I was so cold. I was just shivering. And when I finally got to the finish, got to his car, I'm like, all right, now I got to find Aaron. And I started driving back to, what's the little town that you go through, or the little encampment there? I can't remember what it's called, but
on the north side.
Yeah.
After the finish, Kanab. No.
Yeah.
That's the closest big town.
Yeah, it's kind of more like just a general store and a restaurant, but anyway, I found him there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
To the east of Jacob Lake.
Yeah, Jacob Lake kind of area. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called. You're
Yeah.
like down back on the res though.
So he was there, and he was kind of real dirty and sooty. He had been hovered over a fire all night trying to stay warm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And somehow, because the park's closed up there, right, at that time of year, somehow he hooked up with somebody that gave him a ride and got him out of there.
Yeah.
And then from that point, he helped me get out of there, drove me to Flagstaff, and I've made my way home finally. But yeah.
Marble Canyon, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
That area.
And so
That's wild,
I know
dude.
that he's done it a few times since then. And, but yeah, that was a crazy time.
Yeah. I mean, now there's like a water tower at Picket Post.
Oh, wow.
Like on the way.
Yeah.
Like halfway up that, the climb up from the Gila.
Yeah.
There's like a big water catch up
awesome.
there. Yeah. And they put those in strategically, but
yeah,
and there's all the water caches along the way. It's like,
I think people are doing a better job of, like, particular bike packers are, leaving water caches knowing that the race is going on.
Definitely.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. That happened last year in October.
Yeah.
There was like people putting water specifically because it was record breaking heat. And, people were concerned, and that's cool. But it's like, people didn't even know what this was.
Yeah.
like there was nothing, and it's so popular now that
I remember getting to the start and everybody had their like waypoints of where the water was, and I'm like, oh shoot.
And it started on the border.
Might not be. Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then the 300 started further up
at Parker Canyon Lake.
Yeah, exactly.
The 8 start probably. I don't know if it still starts at the same spot. You like go over Coronado Pass or something.
Kind of like it did from some of the photos I saw.
Yeah,
but I am interested in doing the 8. I would like to do it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, at the time I was like, I'm never doing this again. I've done it. It's hard as hell.
You think the body will hold up on it?
Yeah, as long as I take care of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my mantra now. Take care of yourself. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So look after myself and do it in a different way than I did then, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a little more prepared, obviously. And get a little more sleep and don't get giardia, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I scratched the 800. So I've done the 300 twice.
Yeah.
And I started the 800 and I thought I was ready and it didn't go well. And I scratched it and I regret that, but
undertaking.
I have it, and you give me inspiration because I'm thinking, oh, it's so hard on the body that
Yeah.
I got like I'm 40. I got maybe a 5-year window
Yeah.
where I can do this, but it's all about like,
You got at least 20 or 30.
beautiful. I'll be like, I'll have all this vacation time from
You
work.
don't break too much along the way. Yeah, no, I think, yeah.
Like, I don't
I mean,
care
you
about
see
being,
guys that are doing, more like Tour Divide stuff that are, in their 60s. I'm in my 60s, but, early 60s. I mean, there was a guy in Pinyons and Pines this year that was 66.
Paul Kuzdas.
Yeah, and I was super happy to meet him just because he's inspirational for me, even though he's only 4 years older. He was so psyched, and you can tell he loves this stuff, and I got to talk to him about how he got into it and stuff like that. And
Dude, somebody told me a story about him.
Awesome.
He was like, I flew off, I ran into a tree, I flew off my bike, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's scary.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, trees are scary.
They are scary.
But like, you got such a cool attitude, man. Yeah, Paul's great.
Yeah, he seems
he
like
rolled
a really
in
good
and
guy.
he was like, that was the most amazing route ever. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude, you are awesome.
Love it. I love that attitude. I mean,
So yeah,
yeah.
he's inspirational. I mean, just the fact that we had and we're seeing this more and more. I'm seeing this more and more with these races is 66-year-old on one end and 14, 15-year-old on the other end.
Yeah. That's even more amazing to me because I am in my 60s and I'm like, okay, you can do this. But I'm thinking when I was 15, like I would have no interest in suffering like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, suffering was, when I was 16, I thought ultra endurance was 3.2 miles in a cross country meet.
Yeah, right.
Running.
Like, yeah.
No,
it's really cool. And those kids, I got to meet both of them and chat with them as well. And they were the same way. They had awesome attitudes. I mean, it starts there. Their attitudes were spot on.
Yeah.
They must have cool parents and some good mentors because they got it going on.
I think it was Cruz Blue and Caden.
Yeah.
I don't remember Caden's last name. I think Caden had a mechanical on his bike, so he had a scratch.
I met him early on, and then Cruz, we were kind of going back and forth the first couple days.
Yeah.
And he was hauling ass, but I think he was definitely playing it smart, getting good sleep at night and doing the right things, take care of himself. So.
Yeah. He gave a speech at the end.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh my God.
I wish I was there. He gave like a acceptance speech when he won, like thanking his friends and family and stuff. I was like, dude, that like a pre-planned. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have him on. Like he's on my short list here.
Yeah,
I see him riding around town all the time, and then he shows up at the bikepacking race, and I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. How cool is this? So,
I mean, I think about my kids even like letting my kids do that.
Yeah.
Like I have 2 kids. I'm like, when they were 15, what if I let them do something like this,
Well, all the trouble they can get into and the Giardia. Is that influencing that?
And outside of bikes, there's a lot of trouble you can get into. So I guess, if your kid's going to get into something, it's not half bad.
Giardia is probably better than the alternatives.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're
sitting at home watching, or playing video games all day. So.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So did the heat get you on Pinyons and Pines at all?
Not bad. I mean, I was not liking it like anybody.
Yeah.
But and I was probably in the hottest part of the race and the hottest day at the hottest time of the day, coming out of Cottonwood at like 1:30. That would have been Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty hot, and there's no water. It's a ways with that water
between Cottonwood and Sedona.
Yeah. But I was pretty much kind of eased it down. I wasn't really pushing hard through that section.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking about it like, is that a good strategy? Or do you want to go super fast and get to the water as soon as possible?
Sure.
So I was kind of somewhere in between that, just trying to take it easy, not push too hard, but not waste any time and get through there and get to Sedona basically. And but of course, I probably didn't drink enough water. I think I carried 3 liters plus a water bottle and a Gatorade.
Mm-hmm.
And I had plenty when I got to Sedona. I'm sure I was dehydrated, but yeah.
I'm still dehydrated.
Yeah, I never drink
that. The funny thing, because I was asking people in the finish, favorite parts, least favorite parts, getting little recaps when they were coming in, and most people disliked Sedona just because of the people that were there.
Oh yeah, that's always weird in any of these, where like you're just out in these beautiful wilderness remote places, and then it's like boom,
Yeah.
traffic lights and cars.
Well, they were calling it like mini LA.
Yeah.
They were like, it's like every other plate's a California plate.
Yeah.
Probably didn't help that there was the Overland Expo going on.
Right.
So it brought in a lot of out of towners, and they were kind of concentrated, and because Sedona's such like an OHV heavy area.
Sure.
At least on the Schnebly climb, for me, it was like,
I think I missed some of that, which I feel fortunate for sure.
Yeah.
I just ran into some pink Jeeps and a few others basically coming up there.
Yeah.
I was making phone calls almost the whole time up there. It went super quick. I'm like, wow, that could be a new strategy. Just chat on my phone. I had my earbuds
you were
on.
yeah.
I was talking to friends and
getting work done or whatever.
I probably wasn't going as fast as I should have been, but it made that climb go like boom.
Yeah. That's why I'm a talker on stuff like climbs, because it's it just makes things go.
Yeah.
When you can connect up with somebody on the climb up out of Camp Verde into Cherry. I connected with Tyler. I forget his last name. And he was on a gravel bike, and he caught up with me and was just talking my ear off, and he was also hammering up it.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I want to talk with you, but I cannot keep up with you.
No talking right now. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, this is only my second bikepacking race. And I forgot what the other one
met
he did.
him
Smoke
as well.
and Fire, maybe.
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
And he did really well in his
Yeah,
first
good.
bikepacking race. And he's
Nice.
an ultra runner crossed
Oh,
over. So
yeah.
that seems to be a common thread.
Yeah. I've seen a few of those for sure.
You ever do any running?
I did, and that was probably a mistake with all the knee problems. I broke my collarbone, I think like 2018 in a gravel race.
Oh.
And so I couldn't ride. So then I should have known better, but yeah, I really started running a lot.
Yeah.
And I liked getting out, and I was enjoying it, getting kind of in remote places that I wouldn't get on a bike.
Yeah.
Near where I live. Scoping stuff out, and I even crashed and burned doing that. My daughter's, I come home all skinned up with a broken collarbone. She's like, Dad, what are you doing? But yeah, there's Blake should not run. That's the bottom line. But I used to run when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Competitive or just?
A little bit, but not a lot. I was more of a partier when I was a kid. I was a swimmer. It was my sport.
Okay.
But then, later through high school, I did a lot of things that probably weren't conducive to being a good athlete at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I started serving tables when I was 16.
Uh-huh.
Like I was a soccer player and
yeah,
cross country runner and track runner in high school, and then I started serving tables, and then it all fell off after I got a job and got into the culture of food service, which is just like partying and smoking cigarettes and
I did all that. I did for sure.
Yeah, and then came out of it, fog lifted, but I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of people turn around, a lot of damage they've done.
Yeah.
To their
bodies.
It is
pretty amazing. I mean, like you were saying with the addiction, one of the fastest buddies I know in Tahoe, he was an addict, and he's a maniac on a bike. And I know he damaged his body through the years, but yeah, he's super strong. So I think you can turn it around, obviously. So it's good that people are doing that for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're in a culture of it's really a culture of health.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I mean, it's mixed, but at least the circles that we run in.
Yeah.
It's just like exercise is a side effect of the fun time.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that makes it sustainable for I think that people that just they go through the cycles of I'm going to go on this diet, and then I drop off the diet and I gain some weight, and then I go back on the diet.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's not fun because they're making exercise a chore.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we are lucky that we find something that we like, and even though it's hard work at times, we enjoy it. Some people can't find that, and I'm sure that makes it part of the struggle,
Yeah.
It's like, this is work, and I don't like doing it,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. and I mean, the side effect of this for me is I do spend, time daily, try to get an hour in every day
Yeah.
just to get my heart rate up. I don't
Right.
feel right now. I've been doing it so long that
Yeah.
I get weird if I don't get that in. Yeah. Like the week before a race when I taper, I'm just like,
Yeah.
The week after I'm fine because I'm just like eat, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well, my wife Maggie will say that. She's like, Blake, you need to go ride your bike,
yeah. You're turning into a monster.
Yeah. So yeah, it works.
What did you do for your what is your sleep kit for Pinions?
I went kind of medium range. I've done everything with no sleep kit to, nice and comfy. Comfort versus weight is the way I always look at it. So this time I had, well, the weather was conducive to not having a major sleep kit, but I still had a bivy, a nice lightweight sleeping bag, a pillow, and a pad.
Okay.
But soup, it all fits about that big.
Yeah. What kind of bivy is it?
It's an MSR, whatever, super lightweight one. It's the first time I've used it.
Yeah.
So I use Soul e-bivvies a lot. They're emergency bivvies.
Yeah.
And it's almost similar to that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know, it worked okay. I wasn't super comfortable at night, but I mean, temperature wise, I was okay, but just kind of like, I didn't have a lot of freedom of movement in that thing.
So the Soul emergency bivvy is very narrow for me.
Yeah.
I give the same
It does
problem.
have like a zipper.
Yeah. On one
so
side.
you can kind of free yourself up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
But I switched to the MSR e-bivy, which is much bigger.
That's probably what I have. Is it red?
Yeah, it's like red on the bottom. It's like maroon on the bottom and kind of orange on the top.
That's what I've.
And
that's
it's
what I
got
was
like
using.
a kind of a hood thing,
Yep.
and then
That's exactly what I used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only like 4 ounces or something.
The second night I used it as a ground sheet.
Okay. And
Yeah.
just slept on top.
Yeah. I was a little more comfortable that way.
Yeah.
I put my pad inside of it so I wouldn't lose the pad and just slept on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's,
that
I
worked
mean,
great.
it's when you're drawing a distinction against like the Soul bivy, it has no waterproofing.
Yeah.
The MSR
No,
one. There's
yeah,
nothing there.
no.
You're gonna soak through.
I don't know if I'd want it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I have, but yeah, sleeping in rain in any of those is, it's not ideal. I'd rather just get back on the bike and ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like tarps or.
Well, yeah, if I had something like that, but if I was in something similar to the MSR or the Soul Bivy, it's like, just pack it up and start riding, pretty much for me. That's the way I look at that. I don't think I could sleep.
So when you would race with no sleep kit, you
Uh-huh.
would just take like trail side naps or dirt naps?
Yeah, I've done that, trying to make a pillow out of the helmet. And,
Mhm.
I usually always have a down puffy, a really ultra light with a hood,
Mhm.
a Patagonia one that they don't make anymore. It really doesn't even provide any warmth anymore, probably because it's so old. But I'm definitely in the market for a new one. But yeah, so it'd be that, and try to get comfortable, but probably don't really it's barely worth it. But
Yeah.
just taking a break, laying down, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
And
normally on the races that I could finish, in the 48-hour range, or maybe a little bit longer, but somewhere in that range, straight through.
You just push through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the longer ones, I mean, it's like, do you try to time if there is weather and you don't have like coverage? Do you try to find places to sleep, or
I do think
just go
about that.
through?
Yeah. I mean, when I did this event last year, I got around Prescott and climbing out of there. There was a little Forest Service area with a toilet, of course, and it started. That's when the deluge hit, and I crawled in there and hung out. But that was in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I was in there for a while, and I'm like, yeah. And then finally, that's when I finally dropped out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna ride through this mud for, and so whatever my excuses were, but I just decided to pull the plug at that time. But yeah, I'm always looking for that for sure, or something to crawl under. Like, oh, there's an old trailer, I could sleep under that.
Right.
I've slept in ship containers, like, on the Cross Washington. I did that the first year of the event, and of course it's in Washington. It was just pouring rain. I've never been so wet, and I think coming through the Seattle area, which would have been day 2, into the night, and I was leading the race at the time. I was like, man, I'm just soaked. I had rain gear, but like after that long in the rain, 2 days in the rain, like you're wet.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I crawled into a shift container in a construction site, but I couldn't get warm or dry out.
Yeah.
So it didn't help me that much. And I probably wasn't carrying much of a kid. I probably had a e-bivy on that ride.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was wet, and I actually had to hunker down because then it was snowing over some pass or something coming out of there. I've hit a lot of bad weather on these things. It's almost standard fare, it seems like.
Yeah, and mud. I read, what was it? Comstock Epic.
Oh yeah,
Was that kind of, there were some
that
articles.
was another one. That was a big rain one. That
Yeah.
was insane. That was the first year too. I used to always hit these on their first year because I love doing something that's new. There's no data really out there, like, so you don't have a lot of knowledge, and that makes it more fun and interesting, for sure.
That's why you like Pinyons.
Yeah,
because we change it every year.
That's cool.
You can't get
this
good
is
at
all
it.
new to me. I mean, I've been on sections
Right.
and different stuff, but yeah. So that, same thing. Kurt Sandeforth and I, we ended up being the only two that finished that, but oh boy, we were dragging our bikes across Nevada basically through peanut butter mud. Yeah, you're trying to go through the sagebrush and get off the dirt roads, but there was no way to get out of it. That's when I did wear my carbon bike out. I wore holes through the chain stays and the seat stays
From the sand
and almost through I had a carbon rigid fork.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize it until I got home and was washing the bike, and there's like mud coming out of the frame. I'm like, what's going on there?
Somebody told me a couple days ago, or somewhere during Pinyons, that the ride wrap will save that. It was.
I mean, yeah,
magnolia.
well, it'll give you another layer anyway, right?
Right, and it's a little more durable compared to the carbon for some reason. The like plastic.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it was Magnoble. That's who told me that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Because Tom Schwimberger wore through his bike on Stagecoach.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because the conditions were sandy, not muddy.
Yeah, they've had a run of some bad weather. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like this mud thing, I've been in mud. I've been in death mud for, I don't know, 8 hours, 9 hours of just like pushing, stopping, clean, the 500 last year in Pinyons. I'm referencing. And there were like 2 sections of it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how that all went for you guys that actually pushed through.
Well, it just, what I'm getting at is it seems this is like a common occurrence.
Yeah, it is.
On certain races.
Yeah.
It seems like there should be, I've thought, if you know it's coming, they make like those bike harnesses that you can now use for the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
Like waist pack and they're like specific made for for porting your bike across the Grand Canyon. Like, wouldn't it be more efficient to bring one of those and just switch that out and then just walk
you can
across
have like
the stuff?
20-pound feet with...
but you can still move faster.
Oh yeah, you can.
You're not having to stop and like clean
you're
all the little parts of your
40-pound bike,
right, and
you're
adding 20 pounds of mud onto your bike every time and then cleaning
it's
it
insane
off.
how much your bike weighs.
I've just always thought, like, if you know this is coming, there's all this cool engineering that's coming out and all the progression of bike packing and the people making bags and stuff. There would be like a convertible backpack or something that could you could easily strap your bike onto.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, last year's, I remember I hit some of those mud sections, and I just didn't have enough clearance in my fork. That was one of the main problems, and I was worried. It was a suspension fork, and the mud's wearing against that part of the fork that you really don't want the mud to wear on. And that's I was just like, God, I should have run. And that's this year too. I was like, I should run narrower tires, but I didn't end up needing to. So, yeah.
So back to the Comstock Epic, you pushed for a couple days? How long was the mud for?
So it was basically throughout Nevada until we got to like Carson City. Yeah, I mean, there were sections, obviously, where we were able to ride when we got on gravel and stuff like that. But, Kurt and everybody pretty much dropped the first day, and Kurt and I kept pushing. We actually bivvied the first night together for a couple hours. Really didn't sleep. I remember waking Kurt up and like, come on, we got to go. Or I could have just like ditched him and kept going.
Yeah.
And we kept going, and we were dragging bikes on and off, and then at some point we separated, and I gapped him a little bit, and I decided to really start going hard. And you go over the Tahoe range, and it was snowing up there, and that's where I was really questioning, like, boy, because you're really in Nevada, you're pretty much out there. Well, I did cross a highway, and these people, I was sitting there like seeing the storm up in the mountains and the lightning and thunder, and knowing what I was going into, and I'm like questioning, like, is this a good choice? And this woman pulled over, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know yet." But I knew Kurt was right behind me. I'm like, "Oh, I can't waste any time. I gotta go."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, I was just kind of off and on through that, and it was worrisome because there's not a lot of water resupply out there. So it's like, although it was raining, but it's like, God, how long is this going to take? Because I'm walking and dragging a bike, like,
Yeah.
slowing us way down. It took us, I forget how many days, but definitely twice as long as we had planned on finishing that event. And, but once in Carson, yeah, it got better. And then riding up to, it's decomposed granite, most of the route from there to the finish. And, but at that point I was thrashed because, yeah, I was really competing with Kurt at the time, and he was really close. And I didn't sleep the second night, barely got an hour the first night, and I had major sleep deprivation, started hallucinating, climbing back up into the Sierras and stuff. But yeah, it was a great experience. I was proud of my ride, and but I questioned. That's when I started really questioning, like, how smart is some of this stuff? It being unprepared, like. When you tell people to go out in the wilderness, you should have your first aid, you should have this, you should have so much water and all these things. And doing this sport, you definitely push the limits of that, where you could be out there going, well, I really do have to push that button on my spot because I'm out here being not that smart, because I don't have the right gear or whatever.
Right.
And I didn't on that route. I mean, I had a rain jacket, so
Yeah.
but I could have easily gotten hypothermia out there, So yeah, I thought, that's kind of one of the things I think about now and then. Is like, that's why I bring a sleep kit more now, just because if something goes awry, at least, if someone rescues me, I'm like, yeah, well, I had a sleeping bag. I just, my bike broke down, instead of like, what are you doing out here with no gear?
Yeah, it is walking a fine line.
Yeah.
I come from, my dad was a prepper, over preparer, backpacker. His backpack was always like 60 pounds.
Yeah.
It had meals
awesome.
for a week. We come
Yeah.
from the desert, so it's like we always bring way too much water.
Yeah.
But it is awesome until you want to like go fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Through stuff.
I don't want to carry all this.
And so I had a hard time slimming my kit down.
Yeah.
And being like,
because you just have those habits.
Because, well, yeah, you're always thinking about the what ifs and like, what if I do get stranded out here? What if I run out of food? What if it's slower?
Mm-hmm.
And the other side, there's like those two sides of the spectrum, and then there's like the you and Max Morris of the worlds that were like, what do you sleep in? And you're like, I just sleep in my rain gear when it's raining.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever. I heard him say that one time for CTR. And I was like, what do you mean you sleep in your rain gear? He's like, oh, I had like this like foil windshield thing that I could put over me.
God. Yeah, sounds like Max.
Yeah. As the kind of like a cover, but
yeah,
but and it I don't know, like what happens when you press the button? Does it cost? Is there like, I mean, it's got to cost you, right?
I don't know. I mean, I know. Do you know Forrest Baker? He's done the AZTR. He's done a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
and he actually puts on the Bones to Blue in Tahoe.
Okay.
Longtime bikepacker and racer. But the second year of the Caldera 500, I competed that year as well. And well, a lot of us had problems that year. I broke a pedal in the middle of nowhere, but he ran into same thing. We had, it's June in Nevada and we got really bad weather. And he ended up he thought he was going hypothermic, I think. I don't know his exact story, but he pressed his button, and his wife called me and she's like, hey, he needs help. And the sheriff was like, yeah, we'll get out there. It's like, it took a few hours.
Whoa.
Hey, because, there was one guy on duty or something, I don't know the whole story, but Yeah, it was like, wow, it was good that he was okay in the end. And, in hindsight, I even think like, he's like, yeah, I probably could have made it, but I was pretty scared at the time.
Yeah.
And the weather got better and he was fine. The bottom line was he was fine. But, yeah, so you don't even know, who's going to come and when they're going to come, I
Right.
guess. Yeah.
Like I've thought about that with snakes on the
Yeah.
Arizona Trail Race.
Right.
And particularly the year I started the 800, the grass was so high. It was like 4 feet high. It was after a huge monsoons.
Right.
You were essentially following a line just through thick grass.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah.
I can't see anything. And I was freaked out by whatever was under there,
Yeah.
and snakes particularly.
Boy.
And growing up in the Southwest, being
Yeah,
around
I'd be
snakes,
scared.
I don't mess around with that stuff, And like, what happens if I get bit by a snake?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pressing the button,
Yeah. Right.
but like I've heard that you're not
Yeah.
supposed to move because it like moves the venom
Yeah, you
throughout
get
your
your
body.
Blood pumping.
Yeah, and like, how long is that going to take? But I
Yeah.
guess it's all decentralized because probably, I don't know any of this is speculation, but it probably goes to a central like facility that like answers the calls or whatever, and then like contacts the local search and rescue areas in
Sure,
whatever
yeah.
country you're in or part of the world you're in, right? Because it's a worldwide thing,
Yeah.
right? And then those are all managed differently.
Yeah.
The local search and rescue areas.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be variable, right? Based on
Sure.
where you are. So there's no guarantee that you press the button and you're going to survive, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
this is like also a risk you're taking.
Yeah.
It's just one layer of insurance, right?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like one of those things. Like I backcountry ski, and we ski with rescue beacons, avalanche beacons,
Mhm.
and same thing. You shouldn't be relying on that to save your life.
Right.
It's a safety feature that might get you out of a bad situation, but may not.
Right.
There's a lot of other things in front of that are going to help you survive beyond that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of forget about that.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of like, it's so routine
Yeah.
with the spot now that it's more of just like here's where I'm at, mom and dad,
Yeah, right.
or whatever, and wife.
Doing this, you don't think about them as the main reason they were invented was, for the safety feature, not for tracking guys doing crazy stuff on bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because I mean, the last time I heard about it happen in mass was Tour Divide a few years back when they all, there was like 20 people that had to get rescued.
Oh yeah. I remember following that year. Yeah.
And that was a super bad look for bikepacking.
It was, for sure.
Because a bunch of people went against information that they had to not go out, and they went out anyway. And
without experience and knowledge
and gear,
and a lot of and gear.
Yeah, and
it's happening in a lot of outdoor pursuits because it's attractive. I mean, it's become popular, and so people are getting out there that don't have experience. But you got to gain experience too. So,
right, like you've done it.
Yeah.
Though you just admitted to it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, for sure.
But it didn't make the news.
Have been one of those idiots.
And I've done it.
Yeah.
For sure, I did it on the Coco 250. Have you done that route?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay. Did you do the group stage thing?
We did. I can't remember the exact year. It was probably around 2014 or 15. And it was raining, of course.
Okay.
I drove into Flagstaff and it was snowing. And so a group of us decided to give it one more day. And so we didn't start with the rest because we knew the mud was going to be really bad.
Yep.
And I think there was 4 of us. We started and just decided to do the first 2 stages in one day. So we went to Mingus in one day.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like just making it to the top of Mingus. Like
and that was great.
Yeah.
And so, I had a good experience. We did run into mud and we were dragging bikes, and I think it put a couple guys off and they dropped out. But there was 2 of us that can't remember the fellow's name, but we kept going and pretty much rode kind of off and on to Mingus and hooked up with everybody else there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were mostly asleep when we got there, I think. But yeah.
Did you get a hotel in Williams then the next night?
We did. Yeah, a group of us did. Yeah. Got some pizza or something.
That's my favorite.
That was pretty fun. I love the idea of that event. I wish there was more of those around.
Yeah.
Just the social aspect and not, throws the sleep thing out of it, and yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. You
Yeah.
know? So
Right. And for people not familiar with it, it's group stage bike pack race. So you're only timed while there's stages. There's predetermined stage stops, and you're only timed while you're riding between those stage stops.
yeah, exactly.
And then you compare your times
based
at the
off
end.
your spot and your trustworthiness of, you know, signing in and signing out, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And it allows everybody to camp together
Mhm.
and have the camaraderie of
Yeah.
and the fun of a
Yeah, and you
touring
meet
trip.
people.
But you also get to go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
In the middle of it. So
Yeah.
that was my first bikepacking trip ever, was a Coco 250.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I met Max there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And was like, who's this guy? I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on here.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea who this guy is. Everybody was like, oh, this dude's like a legend. And he was drinking a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, funny.
Like out there on the overlook, overlooking Sedona, you know, on that first
Yeah,
campsite that you guys passed through. But
Yeah.
you know the one I'm talking about. But
Yep. Yeah. No, for sure.
yeah. So, and went back and tried it a couple times. Just this is what put this idea of Mingus as this like mountain of mystery and lore in my
Yeah,
brain, because
right.
that hike-a-bike
Oh, yeah,
up
because
to
I
the-
remember reading all about it before I did it. Like, ooh, that was tough.
up to the launch pad, the hang
Yeah,
glider launch
yeah.
pad, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, and that would have been at the very end of your first day then.
Yeah, exactly. We did it in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that ever since then, I've just been like Mingus Mountain.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that bad on Pinyons this year. It was actually kind of enjoyable.
No, I'm always trying to relate, like, where was I? What, you know, at
Mhm.
different times in different places. It was the middle of the night a long time ago, and sleep deprived, and, you know.
Yeah. It's a blur.
Yeah, it is.
And memories are bad anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you layer all that stuff.
But that was cool. Yeah, I had fun doing that, and yeah, I like that because you don't. I mean, yeah, I've done some of these where I meet a couple of people at the start, and you know, I never really meet anybody. You know,
Yeah.
and you might finish on your own and go home, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So there's nice to get a little social aspect going. Yeah.
I wish
sure.
they would reignite the Coco 250. It seemed to kind of taper off. It had its high point
Yeah,
already. It seems to
right.
be in its elder years.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, it feels...
Well, you should take it on. You can do that.
Well, I think it feels a little bit like Pinyons and Pines kind of,
Yeah, they're similar, but not the same. I mean, they're in the same area.
right.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Dana, I think, tried with Verde Valley Randonnée, which is more of a gravel thing.
Cool. Yeah.
But he tried to kind of get that vibe where you can kind of go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you are comparing times, but really it's not
Yeah.
like it's not a set grand depart. You can go out and do it whenever with whoever.
Yeah.
And start wherever you want on the route. And so
It's fun.
But
Yeah.
I do wish there was more of the group. Yeah, maybe that's something to think about.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm never gonna put one of these together, probably an event, but yeah, I'm always thinking of different routes and different ways to do things. So
You'd be good at it. It's a
Yes.
good way to like stay involved too.
Every
you
time
know?
something comes up, I was like, "Oh, I thought of that."
That's
that would have
funny.
been a great route.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's take a break. I gotta
Sure.
pee.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on.
I did I talked to a lot of people from Colorado and Boulder and stuff, and because I always thought Flag was very similar to Boulder as far as being a college town and kind of a mountain college town and the size of the town, and they were like, nah, there's something different, and I don't know if it's like Flagstaff is very progressive, and the university is very progressive, like naturally, like you know, left leaning, and Arizona is generally pretty conservative, you know.
No.
And so it's an interesting, and I come from a very conservative place, like down by the border. We were very, you know, we're armed all the time. Guns were early on. I was hunting from a very young age.
Yeah, I kind of grew up around that too.
Yeah. And then coming to Flagstaff, I like turned into a hippie for a while I was in college, like big time. And then I kind of have, you know, come back around to the middle where it's like, I like all this stuff over here.
Can't we all get along?
Yeah, but I also like guns and constitutional carry, and I believe in these like fundamental principles. But I also believe that women can have a choice,
Yeah, it's too bad that it has to be so defined, but
Mhm.
yeah. No, my son went to school in Bozeman. It's a very similar kind
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
Bozeman.
That's like a mini Boulder. It's
Okay.
a really cool town. Of course, it's same thing, left leaning, and the state of Montana is not at all.
Yeah.
So, and my son's pretty left. It frustrates the hell out of him. Some of the politics in Montana, it just drives him nuts. But
Really?
I'm like, dude, you're living in the heart of it. And plus, a lot of his friends come from that same thing: guns, hunting, all
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
That's basically the West. I think almost every state has some of that. Like where there's a little outlier of the left leaning, cities basically, and then
Right.
the rest of the state is right.
And generally, I think you're
Yeah.
getting this is generally the more densely populated an area is, the more
Yeah.
left leaning it's going to go for various reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good state. I like it. It's grown on me. I
Yeah.
don't want to leave anymore. And
Yeah.
being here, it's
That's
like
good.
we're staying here for a while.
See, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you can, do any better, right? Unless you have a certain interest in a certain thing that some place is going to provide. It's the same for me and Truckee. Like we were always looking like, oh, that's a cool spot. That's a cool spot. But why leave Truckee? It's a pretty
Right.
cool spot.
And you're there. You're gonna be there forever.
Yeah.
So, you started the Colorado Trail Race?
Yeah.
Have you finished it?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
and
looking.
That's on the agenda for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How far out are we looking? What's your...
This year. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah. Right.
Heck yeah. For the first time. Yeah.
No, this is the redemption tour this year. I'm doing events that I haven't finished.
Okay.
Yeah. This
Nice.
one I just knocked it off.
Right.
Colorado Trail's next. Yeah.
So, what's your plan for number of days?
I don't even have one at this point. I haven't really been thinking about that. I don't even know what my plan was the last time I did it, which was 2 years ago, to be honest, because I was coming off the knee thing, and then I just had surgery to remove my thyroid.
Okay.
So I'd been going through some health battles, and I just wanted to do stuff. I didn't want to be fast or whatever. I just wanted to get back to doing this stuff,
Yeah.
So, I signed up for the Colorado Trail. That was 2022. And it was basically 6 weeks after my thyroid surgery. And my doctor was like, yeah, you can do that if you want. Sounds crazy, but it's not going to screw up your thyroid because it's gone. But I did have some struggles right initially with, because I have to take a hormone replacement now.
Right.
Because I don't have the hormones from my thyroid. And my, it was off balance. So I was struggling. I thought I had altitude issues. Basically the second day I was like not moving at all. And, I kind of suspected the thyroid thing might be a part of it. I'd been feeling kind of funky and days ahead of it. We'd been hanging out in Leadville with some friends and not feeling right, but attributing it to altitude. But when I decided to pull out, I got my blood work done. She's like, oh yeah, we got to up your medication.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So that's how that worked out. So even before I came to this, I had my blood work done. Everything's right where it needs to be. So I was happy about that. Didn't have that to worry me.
Were you, so in this period, if we back up a little bit to the period where you were having these health issues and wanting, I mean, where was your headspace? Was it like, I'm never going to be able to do this again?
Not as much with the thyroid thing. I mean, it was a cancer scare.
Okay.
So you don't know what you're going to be able to do again when you're thinking about those things. But fortunately, no cancer was found. But with the knee, I was a little concerned I may not be able to do some things again. Because I was really struggling. I had a surgery, then I had another one 6 months later, and things were just really off the rails. And, once I got the knee replacement, they were telling me I could do all this stuff, but it really took me a long time to get back because I'd all the things leading up to that final knee replacement, it really was a long recovery to
Okay.
get back. I had one surgery where I couldn't weight bear for like 2 months, you know.
Ugh.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm a skinny dude. I don't have a lot of muscle anyway, and I was losing it all, you know. I was like, wow, here we go. I guess, you know, another. You think about like active pursuits have been my hobbies my whole life. Like, I don't sit around and play Parcheesi or what. What am
Yeah.
I going to do with my time, you know, if I don't do, you know, even going out. So at that point, I was like appreciating just, yeah, maybe it'll just be riding the hood with, you know, my wife on the bike path. That's kind of what it might be, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever. If I can get out and do that, I'm going to be happy at that point. That was, you know, the main thing for me. I mean, it wasn't that tragic, but it kind of felt that way sometimes. Yeah.
This is all inevitable, though.
Yeah.
No,
Sooner or
right?
later, you do reach that point
And,
where, like, yeah, you can only do certain things.
and I think it's so important for all the people I've talked to at every level, at every age. They're pushing, doing more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nobody's thinking about their exit strategies.
Yeah, I know. It's true. And that's when you know, like I said, I started thinking about those. I never really made a good plan because I don't know what I'm going to do. I worked a lot, that's for sure. I worked more than I ever have.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm going to get a lot of work done, try to make some money, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Pay the medical bills.
yeah. But with the knee thing too, it's like you said, people are doing things, and it's the same with these artificial joints. They weren't designed for like people to do endurance sports or even any sports. They were just designed
400
for so
mile.
people could survive without pain.
Yeah. Yeah. 400-mile single speed hike a bike. Yeah.
So
No, they didn't make them for
that's
those.
the next thing is like, how long is that joint going to last until you wear it out?
Yeah.
And so those were thoughts. Like I had a partial actually, because my doctor, and different doctors have different opinions on this. He's like, we can do a partial because it's just your medial side of your knee. And, you know, that'll last you 5-7 years, and you can wear that thing out, and then you get a, you know, because you don't want to get 2 full knee replacements in your lifetime. I mean, it's done, but it's not going to be fun.
Right.
So we'll see how long it lasts, you know. Hopefully
Right.
I can make it to like 70 or something like that, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's inevitable for everyone,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I just, that's part of the reason I'm thinking long game here. I'm not that competitive, but like long game, this
Yeah.
is a way to stay in this.
Yeah.
The race director position role is a way to
Sure.
stay involved. And I always say this, but like I watch a lot of UFC fighting, and I see UFC fighters that they go to, like, they get knocked out. They fight way too long. They don't quit when they're on top. They get knocked out. They don't go into like commentating or something.
Yeah.
They don't do something that keeps them involved in the sport. And you see this in everything. You see this in like high school, like parents that have high schoolers that like didn't see their goal achieved in high school football or whatever, so they're like porting it all into their kids or whatever, right? You see that, right?
Yeah.
Or people can't just like be at peace with like that there's a peak and then there's a backside to this thing, right?
Exactly.
And like be graceful in the exit somehow, right? And
yeah.
because our egos in this sport, to win, to go fast, to push through the sleep, conflicts directly with the, you know, the slowing down and the going easier and the enjoying of the things, you know. So I see myself heading in that direction, and I'm trying to just like continue to explore this idea and keep it present, you know, to be like, like,
well, yeah, you do have a lot of things going on, so that'll help for sure.
But I'm not very like fast, so that's I'm not like pushing my, you know what I mean? I'm like on this one, I'm like, nah, I'm sleeping. I'm done with the sleep deprivation. You know what I mean?
No, that's great. Everybody, that's what's cool about this sport, that everybody can do it in their own way. You know, the only expectations are the expectations they have of themselves, you know, basically. So, you know, and although you always feel like, or I do anyway, that, you know, that you feel like outward pressure sometimes when you're doing sport and competing, but it's really inward, you know. So, but yeah, we all have to think about that stuff. So, you know, who knows?
So on CTR, I'm kind of in your camp. I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it super mellow, like
Yeah.
get, 6-7 hours of sleep a night,
Yeah.
go fast during the day.
Yeah.
And if I feel like going back a second time and trying to do it faster, I
Mm-hmm.
will.
There you go. Yeah. I think that was pretty much my mindset last time because it's been on the radar forever. Like I've done all these events and I've never done the CTR.
Right.
Like it seems kind of crazy. And I'm from Colorado, so I'm like, I mean, I was born in Ohio, but I grew up in Colorado too. And I was like, I don't know why it just never, I'm usually busy in the summer with work and whatever. I just never got it done. And at that point, when I did it 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, I just want to do it and finish it. And, so I can chalk that one off. And plus I want the experience. Although I've ridden a lot of it, I toured a portion with my kids and raced part of it. And yeah. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to, ride from finish or start to finish. So
are you bringing a tent? Or are you bringing
probably,
a
yeah, I
tarp?
have one of those really nice, pyramid type Dyneema tents now, one
Yeah.
person. That's really sweet that I've used on a few tours in the last couple of years. And so I'm thinking, because I don't do good in the elements anymore. I'm not as durable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to take care of myself like we've been talking
Dude,
about.
I'm with you.
Yeah. I don't want to get hypothermia. And I can be comfortable in that thing. I know that,
Yeah.
it can be pouring rain outside. And if I got a decent sleeping bag, I can hunker down and I'll be okay.
Is it like a single pole?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
got a carbon pole. I got the Hyperlight version.
Dude, those are so nice.
Yeah,
Hyperlight
it's super sweet. I mean, it's an investment. They're not cheap, but
No. What are they,
I love
300-400?
that thing. What's that?
$300 or $400
I think probably in that
for
range.
like basically like a tarp and a pole.
Yeah,
but
it has like the bathtub bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's built into it.
Ooh,
So you don't really need a ground sheet or anything, and it has kind of a screen around the bathtub and where the pyramid kind of starts going up. It works great. Yeah. I love that thing.
Hyperlight makes amazing gear.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of it's the Dyneema.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is, AKA Cuban fiber.
Yeah, exactly.
Which Kurt was saying super light, but not really that packable.
That's for sure. I guess it gets packable, or from what I've heard, over time because you're crumpling it up more and more.
Oh.
But yeah, at first it's like, wow, this thing takes up a lot of space for what it weighs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprisingly, you would think lighter, smaller, more packable. Like those things always go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But with the Dyneema, it's a little.
Yeah, it's just not as pliable, I don't think, as some of the other materials.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I'll take that. I'll make some space. I really like that thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think I'll run maybe a seat bag.
Because
I'm trying to ditch the seat bags. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But they're coming back hard, like tail fin racks. And
I know there's a lot of different ways to do things now. I mean, there's more options. Racks were completely out of the game, and now they're, I saw a lot of racks during the Pinyons and Pines.
See the dude who broke his tail fin?
Yeah. See,
Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
So
but
he mended it with. He broke the side, the one side where it attaches.
Oh yeah.
And he mended it with he took 2 popsicle sticks and a bunch of Gorilla Tape.
Oh wow, good for him. I'm glad he got it done.
That's always been my concern with the racks, especially on Arizona Trail.
Yeah.
I get it on
Tour
Divide, a rack with your sleep kit in the back.
Yeah.
No front roll, just blasting.
A lot of folks, especially women with smaller frames, if they're riding full suspension, they don't have a lot of carrying space, and they can't run a seat bag because it's hitting the rear wheel, or especially if they want to run a dropper. And so that's where the rack.
I see.
To me, that's where, if I was in that situation, it would be a no-brainer. I would probably go to one of those.
It adds
But I have plenty of room, and I have a long dropper, so I can eat up some of that space with the bag even, and still get, half the dropper or whatever.
Yeah.
So it works for me depending on which dropper. This time I carried a really small one, but I've got a few different sizes. So
yeah,
I'm sure I'll be carrying a lot on the Colorado Trail.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go comfortable too.
I mean, I'm always counting grams or whatever, but I'm gonna have, I'll be carrying more, a heavier kit than I normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the fence between a tarp. I've had a sill poly tarp, like a
Yeah, I have
6x9
one of
tarp,
those as well.
single carbon pole.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been working on practicing my knots and practicing my
Yeah.
routine of setup.
Yeah, that's huge with those, I would say.
Yeah, right. Because I wanted to be an autopilot when I was doing
Mhm.
it. So if it's just like blasting rain outside, I can just like get the thing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Would you? I mean,
you would use like your MSR bivy under that possibly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually bought a Bora Gear Dyneema bivy.
Oh, nice.
That's actually lighter than
Mhm.
and it's got a
Wow.
bug netting
Oh, yeah.
because the MSR
That's
doesn't
pretty
have a
nice.
bug netting.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I could have used the bug netting in a couple spots, and I think for
On
future
the
adventures,
CTR, you would want that, you know.
is
there's a
that
lot
for
of-
mosquitoes?
Yeah, there's mosquitoes. I mean, I'm not an experienced rider on that route for sure, but
Yeah.
I know Colorado and there's mosquitoes.
There
so,
could be like
yeah.
peaks in bad mosquito season.
Yeah,
there,
it
right?
just depends. I mean, it is later in the season, but you know, they do get, yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sure you could run into mosquitoes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Depending
So
on where you're at.
I'm hoping that was a good decision because Plan B, I was going to lift from Kurt doing the Continental Divide Trail, which he just bought like a bug netting hood.
Oh yeah, I
and just a
discovered one of
baseball
those.
cap.
Yeah, those things are awesome. I was doing a scouting thing with on the Orogenesis route with a couple buddies,
Mhm.
and we were going from Tahoe south in the Sierras, and both those guys, we got into these. We have these things I call them face fleas that are just flying all over you. They don't bite or sting, but
Oh yeah.
they're like boop with their nets. I'm like, damn, I need one of those.
During the ride, like
yeah,
while they're riding.
yeah, they
Oh,
were
that's awesome.
prepared. I was unprepared, but yeah, as soon as I got home, I bought one of those.
It's
Yeah.
what, like half an ounce?
Yeah, it's just this little, you know, and I've brought it on a few trips and I've used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a race or anything like that, but yeah.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, Arizona, it's just I've done most of the stuff here, and it's like
yeah,
you don't really
bugs.
need to worry
Yeah.
about that. Ants
Yeah.
and snakes.
Yeah, I was worried about ants the other night. I saw some ants. I'm like, ooh, is this a good spot?
Yeah. On
Yeah.
Arizona Trail, it was like the only clearings in all of that giant like there were these nice, beautiful clearings in the super tall grass, and they were giant ant hills.
Oh God.
So your choice was either just lay your like bivy like down in the big thick grass,
Yeah.
or the ant hill.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was just that was tough, dude.
Yeah.
That was just like tough
That is
tough
tough.
stuff.
Yeah.
So what is your diet like
hmm
during a race and then outside of a race, like for life?
Okay. Well, I became a vegan years back. I'm not currently a vegan. I'm a vegetarian, basically. Eat dairy,
Mhm.
but still try to lean towards the vegan side of it. But when I do these things, I eat whatever I can put in my mouth.
Okay.
I will eat a McDonald's hamburger, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm not allergic to meat, but I try to stay away from it in daily life.
Right.
So yeah, on this ride, I brought a lot of sports nutrition specifically designed for, for endurance. And so, the gels and all those kind of things and some powder. And that was great. I kind of want to lean toward, I mean, you can only carry so much of it, but I carried food that I started with and it still had some of it when I finished, which I normally wouldn't have done. Like if I was doing this really fast or trying to be up at the pointy end, I would have started with, just enough calories to get me to the next convenience store. Right. But,
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of junk. I mean, that's the one downside is eating all that junk food, you know, but yeah, so it's, everybody has what they like or what feels good in their stomach, but it used to be all about calories. And so I'm thinking more like towards carbohydrates while I'm pushing and then getting some protein down, whether it's a protein bar or some cheese or something that's protein based before I go to bed, even though there's not a lot of recovery there. I figure I might as well get some protein, you know?
Yeah.
But during the ride, it's mainly about the carbohydrates and some caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The junk food is, I mean, I'm same thing. I'll eat whatever is good.
Yeah.
Mostly junk food.
Yeah.
But it's kind of been changing for me slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't get all the honey buns in
Yeah,
the
you
pie
were telling
hole.
me that.
You know what I mean?
I don't even know what a honey bun is.
Oh man, I wish I had a
I've
producer.
heard of it,
We'd
but
pull it
it's
up on
just
the
like
monitor.
yeah, okay.
It's just like a a cinnamon roll that's like
yeah,
preservative filled,
yeah.
but they're like 600 calories, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
only
Well,
this
that's the
big.
thing. Like getting some. That I have been using a lot of. Shoot, now I can't even think what the bar's called. But they have like four or 500 calorie bars.
Yeah,
Which is a lot of calories. I'm just not sure how your body processes it. Like, are you really are you getting the benefit of all those calories? Like, because your digestive system is going through a lot. So
yeah, it
it's a
didn't feel
matter
like
of
it
what
for
it's.
me.
So I think having those powders, like Tailwind, and now Scratch has one with nutrition, not just electrolyte based. So I think that's a good route. I've always tried to bring some of that because sometimes I get lazy about eating, and
Yeah.
I know if I'm at least drinking, I'm getting a little nutrition and some calories.
Yeah.
And then the gels the same way. I think they're designed to be easily digested and go straight through the system and help you.
Yeah.
Whereas like eating whatever, a bag of potato chips and some candy bars, I don't know how my body's processing that.
Yeah, totally.
But it feels good. There's also the mental aspect of
Right.
like, oh, a slice of pizza and this and that, and it feels good mentally to get that.
Yeah, sitting down, I was fine, and
Yeah.
it felt great, like ice cream and chicken nuggets.
Yeah, I
and,
always hit the ice cream.
yeah, the ice
and
cream.
Pepsis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
orange soda, Pepsi, and Sprite. I was like rotating between those three.
Yeah.
Because the orange soda wasn't so good when it got really hot.
Yeah. Well, a Pepsi you could say the same for that.
Yeah, but the Sprite seemed okay when it was really hot. Like the Sprite didn't seem to get. It was the clear stuff.
Yeah.
And not flat. Like you had to drink it before. Like I carried one and I didn't open it and I kept it carbonated.
Yeah.
Because something to do with the carbonation is very refreshing.
Yeah, that is
12
true.
hours in.
Yeah. Mainly when it's cold though, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
No, it was refreshing.
Yeah.
For me at that time. And but the one problem with like bringing stuff like that prepackaged stuff like gels and Tailwind is there's this point of diminishing returns with it where you either need to buy more somewhere else.
Yeah, and you're not most likely not going to come across it.
Right.
Yeah.
So like how do you deal with that kind of stuff on like something like CTR that's 6 days
That's where
long?
you just kick it out the window and then you just do. But I have seen there was a guy that did, I remember reading his race report from doing the Stagecoach 400. And obviously that's a shorter route, especially if and he won it, I believe, that year. He did all powder-based nutrition the whole way,
Yeah.
But he was just like, nose to the grindstone to the finish, basically.
Right.
So something in that sense, if you're really going that fast and in 48 hours or whatever it might be, then you could probably do it.
That's what Jesse did. I believe.
Yeah. Oh, well, he was like 38 hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know his full ride report, but I know that he had made his own Tailwind. But basically some combination of the base ingredients of Tailwind. Yeah. So like he bought his own source ingredients and then mixed it. And he at least at least that was his plan going into it. And he's the type of guy that like he's got a pretty solid plan that he sticks to.
He
doesn't go off the rails.
Too. He lives nearby me.
Okay, yeah, in Reno or
yeah. It's funny because I was looking through old pictures just trying to recollect some of this stuff before I came over, and there's a picture of us starting that first Comstock.
I read that.
He was there.
I read his name in
young.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like 30 or something.
And then I kind of rebooted around when I met him here last year. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was like what, 12 years ago?
Nah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's so awesome to see him kicking ass, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, he's destroying.
Yeah.
So it was good. He's gonna be at CTR as well.
Oh yes. Nice. Good. Well, I'll see him at the start anyway.
Same for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'll high five him and then that's it. That's the end of see
Good
ya.
luck out
Jesse.
there, buddy. Yep.
Yeah. Did you hear he got flashed on the way up Schnebley Hill?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
God.
by Pink Jeep.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, flashed.
I
thought you said flats. I'm like,
no,
oh my God.
sorry, flashed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's inspiring.
Yeah. And there was a picture of Dana made a picture of him on Instagram for his like, finishing picture that he posted. That was him with like,
oh yeah, I
did you
saw
see that
that.
bunch
Yeah,
of
I did
women
see
in
that.
bathing suits?
Now
And
that makes more sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it said something like, "Who says there's not anybody at the finish of these things?" He had his harem.
That's so cool. Wow.
So yeah,
Well,
yeah,
good. Yeah, I'm really happy that he put down a solid ride, and that's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like stars have to align for something like that.
Oh yeah,
sometimes,
for sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah, he kicked ass.
yeah. So you were telling me the other day about. I have to make you tell the story again. Your nice van. You have a Sprinter.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had a situation with an animal.
Oh yeah, I think 2 weeks after I got it home, forgot to lock it one night.
Like you bought it and got it home?
Yeah, I bought it down to San Diego and drove it home, and it's
Okay.
been in the driveway or whatever. And where we live, we're not worried about, well, I live on 5 acres, kind of, there's not a lot of folks around, and we don't worry about too much about people breaking into our house or stealing our cars or all those things. But now we have to think about bears and lock our house, like, where's our house key? I don't even know, it's like now we have to be bear aware basically. And so I wasn't bear aware, left the van unlocked, and the bear got in there and found the refrigerator and basically didn't know how to operate the door and just ripped it off. And, it's a really nice, Sprinter refrigerator, whatever. So that almost made me cry. But luckily it didn't damage the rest of the van. It could have been way worse. Yeah. Because you hear the stories, where they just ripped the whole dashboard off. And I didn't have really any food. There was some whiskey he found that wasn't in the fridge, and then in the fridge there was a thing of baking soda, to keep it fresh in there. And he ate some baking soda, some sunscreen, baking soda, some whiskey. Yeah, he was all good to go.
And then it all.
But yeah, I feel some bad responsibility too, because those are the things you're supposed to not do. Because these bears you don't want them to learn to find food in cars, obviously. But
right.
Yeah, it's a big problem where we live for sure. There's a
Right.
lot of bears around these days.
You didn't like hear it or find him in it. You just found the
No,
aftermath.
I mean, we've had bears in our house even, and we didn't even, while we were asleep. Yeah. And wake up the next
Grizzly
morning, like, who left the door open? Yeah, you really have to be on it. I mean, yeah. Like now I have a house key, it's like, that's the downside of it. Yeah.
Now house key. Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that here.
Yeah, you don't. I know that's one thing out here. I was
Black
worried
bears.
about like snakes and scorpions, I guess, more. I saw a scorpion, but
Oh yeah?
yeah.
Where
and
at?
then right before I was gonna bivvy, I'm like, great, there's scorpions around here, I guess.
There's like these things that like are spiders, but they look like scorpions.
Oh wow.
They're like mini, they're
He
size
was
of a
small,
quarter
but
or
he
whatever.
looked like a scorpion to me. But
Probably was.
Yeah,
These are
okay.
very different. I mean, but they have like tails that look like scorpions. I think they've evolved to.
I wouldn't want to see one of those either.
Look like
I'd
as a
much rather see a
defense
bear.
mechanism.
Yeah.
Like look like more like a scorpion. But that was the number one piece of gear on the Arizona 750 that I'm jumping off here.
Yeah,
but,
scorpion talk.
Everything in the desert wants to kill you or scratch you.
They just
or
have
bite
these
you,
defense mechanisms
or sting you.
Yeah,
Everything.
Yeah.
And the one piece of gear was the comb. Bringing a comb.
Oh yeah, I learned that. That was something very new to me when I first did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was something my dad taught me when
I
we
got
were
some good
young.
cactus on my ride on the Arizona
Really?
Trail. Oh,
Did
yeah.
you say you had an air mattress?
I did. I didn't, amazingly, and I didn't even process it much back then, I don't think. But yeah, the air mattress survived. Yeah.
Miracle.
Go think. Yeah. But yeah, I remember one night, like coming around a corner, whack, right into, some spiny thing, like pulling needles out. I had always have a little Leatherman anyway, to get those out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the desert is full of those little things, and that's why bivvy is like
Yeah, it's
not
kind of nice
cowboy
not
camping.
to just be laying right there in a bed of poisonous animals. Yeah.
So you'd rather deal with the bears in your house than
Oh yeah,
rattlesnakes, huh?
by far. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think so, man. All right. Well, let's see. So you have a partnership with, or you are an ambassador for Wolftooth and OTSO.
Yeah, mainly OTSO.
Okay.
But Wolftooth's parent company.
Right. Did they like absorb OTSO or
No, they started making bikes. I don't know the exact year, but mainly fat bike, and they had a kind of a gravel bike at the time when they first started coming out with their fat bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and they've kind of progressed over the years. I mean, it's a great company, and I think they kind of pushed this side of the cycling sport, as far as designing bikes that people can do a lot of different things on.
Yeah.
So fat bikes, adventure type bikes, gravel bikes. Yeah, so I've been riding their fat bike for a while, and I have their gravel bike, and now I have this new Fenrir that I really like.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've had a bike that's actually, kind of designed to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of different manufacturers that really they saw an opportunity here, and designed specifically for big bike packing adventures.
Yeah, I think originally Salsa was kind of the ones that got on that, and recognized that there was a need for it, and it's awesome.
That's cool. So it's been a good partnership, and
good people, good partnership. I've met some of the other ambassadors in the last couple years. We had kind of a overnighter we did with a few of the ambassadors and some of the people from the company in Northern California a few weeks ago, and that was fun. I got to meet one of the owners, and some of the marketing people, and they have a lot of cool people riding their bikes and doing really cool stuff. If you check out their site, they have the ambassadors listed on there, and you can kind of see, if you follow some of them through social media, what they're doing, and it's pretty cool. Yeah,
nice.
So I feel really fortunate to be associated with them for sure.
Yeah. It's cool, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, you want to jump into some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. I
don't know how rapid fire my brain is, but we'll give it a shot.
A couple of these might repeat from the previous rapid fire, but we're going to go for it anyway. What's your favorite in-race food?
I told you before, yes, it is the payday.
Right.
Yeah. Salty, sweet. And as you pointed out, it doesn't get all sticky and melt. I'm like, now I've got that on my side too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Paydays are amazing.
I love them. Yeah. I probably ate 4 on this ride.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of calories in them too.
It's good to have, like, I always save something that I like, kind of in my bag. Like, where you get to the point of like, oh yeah, I can have a payday right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your little treat.
I don't even eat paydays unless I'm on my bike, but yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. A little food treat for yourself.
Oh,
yeah, that's a good idea. What's your favorite post-race food?
Post-race? Now that it probably used to be a big old burger, but since I don't eat that stuff anymore, I would say usually steer towards, big pizza or burrito, some Mexican food, something like that.
Yeah.
Something substantial that feels good.
Yeah.
And a nice cold beverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What's your spirit animal?
Oh boy. Oh, you did ask me this too.
Yep.
And I would say the ram.
Yep.
Kind of always associated with the ram. Yeah. Yeah, I used to have some friends that used to call me Billy Goat Bockius.
Okay. So. That's your fighting
it's
name?
It's a goat, ram. Yeah, just because of my climbing prowess on the bike.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that kind of climber anymore, but yeah.
It's all alliterative too.
Yeah,
Blake, Billy Goat Bockius.
Oh, and I'm an Aries, which is the ram. So
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All kind of comes together.
It does.
Yeah.
What would you think is your endurance superpower?
I would say my endurance.
Layup.
Endurance and climbing are my my go-tos. Yeah. I used to be a really good descender, but not anymore. I mean, I'm good for a 62-year-old, I guess, but yeah, I can't send it like I used to. But yeah.
So did that come naturally for you, the endurance, or is that something you like actively trained?
Yeah, I think the climbing for sure. I'm a lightweight guy and I have good capacity. I was a swimmer, like I said. I think that helped with that. But even through the years when I've had some coaches, they're like, we don't need to work on the endurance thing. That's like a given.
Hmm.
Let's work on this and that, other aspects of your fitness.
Nice.
So it just comes naturally. I can just keep going. It's something to do with the metabolism, I think, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Crazy,
Yeah.
but
Right
yeah.
on. You may have already mentioned this one, but maybe there's another one. Your worst crash or fall?
Oh boy, there's been quite a few. I would say the worst was in the 24 hours of Old Pueblo. I was doing it with my family. We had a team, my wife and my two kids and a buddy of mine. And my wife's wanted to do one lap. She's not really, it's not in her wheelhouse to be doing these things, but she was participating, having fun with us all. And so I'm like, hey, I'll go out on your lap with you. I just finished my lap. I got to grab my lights, I'll catch up. And so she takes off and I'm chasing. I'm like, where'd she go? I remember there's an A line and B line on part of the route. I don't know if you've ever done it,
No.
but I'm like, I hope she didn't take the A line. She needs to stay on the B line. But anyway, I couldn't find her. The next thing I remember is waking up and the guys was asking me questions like, hey, do you know where you are? I'd gone off the bike somewhere. I don't have any recollection because I was knocked out cold. The guy found me unconscious.
Oh.
Yeah. He happened to be a nurse. And so I was, fortunately, although he didn't really have to do a lot of care stuff, but kind of helped me get up and, got the rescue people there. My daughter's a PA, got her over there and so I failed my team, I expected them to keep going, but they all bailed on me. But I ended up in the hospital that night, brain scans and all these things. I've had a few concussions, so
Yeah.
they wanted to look after me. And we had a whole trip planned after that in Arizona, which, I mean, we still had a good trip, but it didn't include biking because they wanted me to stay off the bike.
Yeah.
So,
hey, so you've had concussion protocols?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been through all that. And I did have some issues. I get kind of a vertigo thing. I don't know if, I kind of associate it to that, but I think I've had 3 or 4 in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But I've had countless injuries, broken bones, broke my teeth, collarbones, like I said. Yeah, I've had a lot of injuries on the bike specifically.
Dude.
Through my lifetime. Yeah, that's why I'm peeling it back. Yeah, not sending it.
Yeah.
I want to keep it upright and I don't want to get hurt anymore.
Yeah. Can't blame you.
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? Boy, I would say probably my kids do. Yeah, specifically.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just love following their life paths, and they're both doing great. And it is inspiring watching, them go through life and where they come through to where they are now, and looking forward to their futures. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm just so lucky.
How old are they now?
29 and 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been a great path so far. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts? And if you do, what's your favorite?
I'm not a podcaster, but now your podcast is my favorite.
Yeah, right.
Because I was listening to it this morning.
Appreciate that.
And it's good to have one that I'll actually want to listen to. Yeah. And I did, so far in the brief time that I've listened to it, I enjoy it. It seems like, you make me comfortable, you make your guests comfortable, and it seems pretty natural.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm giving you some kudos, brother. But,
I'm honored to that you said yes and you stuck around, and
I'm so happy to be here. Believe me. Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love talking about this stuff. That's for sure.
We can go forever. I
didn't even know it would go this long. I'm like, it's awesome.
I thought, when I was setting all this up, I was like, I'm gonna sets us up to be able to record for 9 hours remotely.
This is true endurance. You're gonna
Yeah.
test me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's beat Rogan, right? Let's see how long people, because basically it's self-feeding, right? The way I look at it is like a lot of people listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts when I'm out riding for hours and days and days.
I know. I need to do that. I've started doing some books on tape, actually, which is new to me. I never would listen to anything, even music, but I have started, especially when I'm more on the touring side of things.
Yeah. The engaging riding.
Yeah.
The whole first day of Pinyons.
Yeah.
No chance I'm going to concentrate on anything.
You gotta kind of dial it in.
But just those long, when I was in Camp Verde, I put in my headphones after that, and I was like, I'm just going to, almost like you with the food, like you treat yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I treat myself to like a little change of pace where I'll put in a comedy podcast where they're just kind of being silly.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel a little better.
I need to find some, really, to be honest. I have found yours, but
yeah, there's like,
know.
there's
it's everything, I'm sure.
And I like mix between comedy and like serious conversations, like Lex Friedman, Huberman, but so, it's self-feeding is my point. Like, create the content, people listen to the content. Right. And so, and it's just, it gives me a reason to say, hey, Blake, you want to come to my house and talk for 3 hours about bikes?
Yeah, it is awesome. I have to tell you, really.
What's the worst water source you've ever drank from?
I would say probably on the Arizona Trail. There's a couple cattle tanks. I did get Giardia after that event, or somewhere along the line, but it kicked in after. And then last year I got Giardia again on the Smoke and Fire. It seemed like a real nice water source, but that just sticks out on that route. Some of the southern stuff where you're taking water, like, ooh, I'm really gonna drink that. Damn.
Yeah.
But you just got to buck up and deal. Yeah. Doesn't taste good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember talking to Neil Belchenko. He said he didn't use any of those, that he was able to resupply, but he's hauling ass, obviously, and able to get point to point. So yeah, if I ever do it again, I'll have to look into that further and figure out. I always do try to do that. Obviously, I think we all do try to find those good sources,
Yeah, well, and the information now.
Exactly.
The water reports online are just like phenomenal compared to even 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You can get up to date. 2 weeks ago there was this much at this tank or whatever,
that's so cool.
It's this. It's got a 2 out of 5 rating or a 3 out of 5 rating. Like, it's like a review system for water sources on the Arizona Trail Race, and like, I bet you wish you had that. In 2013.
Like I said, I didn't even have a waypoint to any of those things. I was like, boy, yeah.
So and then the stocking of the different cache boxes along the way.
Yeah,
and then
that's
the
huge.
2 rain collectors that they've put in. Those are in critical spots.
Yeah.
There's one at like Freeman Road,
and
then one at the top of the after you leave the Gila. The Gila's okay, but it's a lot of cow stuff.
Yeah.
Now, did you get Giardia after filtering, or?
Probably. I don't know where. I had a really good filter, and I think I just got some cross contamination, to something like that, because I was trying to be careful and filter well and whatever, but somehow I got it. Yeah. Maybe it was at a bad restaurant. Who knows?
Yeah, right. That's happened where I've gotten sick the night before from something I ate the night before a bikepacking race. Yeah, and I started it, and then I'm sick all day. I'm like, wait a second, I haven't filtered any water.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, and last question. One piece of advice you'd give to a new endurance athlete?
Yeah, one piece of advice. That's a tough one. I mean, there's just a lot of different aspects to it, but I think one piece of advice, I think I've done a few clinics, that I've put on, and I think one of the big things is people don't think they have the right gear or the right bike. And so I think my advice would be like, take your bike, strap some bags on it, and you can go bikepacking, whether you're riding, 5-inch travel, full suspension, or rigid cyclocross bike or whatever, you can make it work. It's not specific to having this certain bike and all these certain bags. I think that keeps a lot of people from getting out there, to be honest, because I've even had friends like, well, all I have is this bike. I'm like, yeah, I've got bags. We can figure it out, you know?
Right. There's a limiting walls that are put up by the expectations of maybe what the media puts out there a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's in a lot of sports, like you have to have all this certain gear, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Like people used to have one pair of shoes and do everything in one pair of shoes. Now
Yeah.
you got to have a pair of shoes for every
I've found
activity you do. You know, it's like,
a lot of people are, they say, I don't have the sleeping gear or the tent or whatever.
right.
That seems to be a common thread with that.
Yeah. I know
And
people are doing like co-ops too, where they're contributing gear. I think that's huge.
yeah, can you like rent gear?
I think, you know, I don't know. Maybe REI would, you know, if anybody, but I think there are places where people are kind of, you know, gathering up gear and like so that they can get people out there, you know.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that or contribute to anything like that, especially in my local area. Like, yeah, I've got extra bags, put them to use. And I've told friends that too many times that, oh, I want to do this trip, you know.
Yeah.
Like I got, you know,
So
I got enough bags to supply 3 or 4 people easily.
yeah.
Yeah.
So ask your friends. Ask you know,
Yeah,
if you got the bike. I mean, the range of bikes that we saw start and finish Pinyons and Pines was pretty impressive.
Oh yeah,
It was going
cool.
from big,
Yeah.
heavy, thick, full suspension bikes all the way to ultralight gravel bikes.
Yeah.
Rigid.
Yeah,
You know, and they all finished. You know,
Yeah.
or a lot of them. There was the range that finished.
yeah.
There was no one bike that was perfect.
But yeah, mostly it wasn't because of the bike. If you didn't finish, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, you know, if you want to get into it, don't let that, like you're saying, don't let that be an obstacle. Don't let that don't make that an excuse
Yeah, exactly.
for not doing it. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. Yeah. Yeah. I love seeing more and more people, and it is kind of slowly churning. I mean, it seems like you guys have a pretty good bikepacking community around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Rogue Panda is out of Flag.
Oh yeah.
And they're
that's
kind
cool.
of OG
Yeah.
bag makers.
It's really been slow coming on where I am. I mean, obviously now we have some events. Like I said, Forrest Baker lives there. I know a few people that are bike packers. But yeah, a few years ago, it's like there was no one doing it around Truckee at all, you know. And none of those shops are really, you know, conducive to it, or you know, yeah, you know, it's just different areas take on different sides of the sport. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The shops definitely have to get on. I mean, like Flag Bike Rev, they support it. They have now, I think Sam McLaughlin.
mm-hmm.
He was in the top 10 at least. I think he was like 7th or 8th maybe. I rode with him for a minute.
Cool.
I think he works at Flag Bike Rev.
Uh-huh.
But the Sedona bike shop was not really. They weren't really.
No,
They were just kind of like, huh.
Yeah, they don't,
Because they got a whole different thing. There's a whole thing going on there.
They're kind of geared towards the tourist population, I think, a lot.
It's their honeypot.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. That's how they make it work.
Yeah. So, right on. All right. Well, anything you want to promote? You have an Instagram?
I do. I'm bbach on Instagram, b_bach, and yeah, I try to participate a little bit in social media. I'm not very good at it, but yeah, that's about all. You know, I don't have a blog or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And OTSO?
Yeah, and then check out OTSO. You know, I'm on there, and I hope to. I got to start churning the wheels to. You know, I want to do some write-ups for OTSO, and you know, promote some of the stuff I'm doing, and yeah, stuff like that.
Nice.
And I'm gonna have more time because I'm kind of gearing towards retirement, so I can put more of my attention towards some of that stuff, which will be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Blake, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Great for including me.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you were able to
glad
stick
we
around
connected.
for a little bit of time after Pinyons, and I could catch you while you're in town, but I'm coming to Truckee at some point.
You should come up, and I do. I'll give them a big shout out. Is Bones of Blue, man? If you want to do a route, I mean, it's some of the finest single track around, and it's almost all single track, the whole thing.
What time of the year
some
is
of the
that?
best. He's doing it, and I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I don't even know the dates, to be honest.
All right. I'll put it in
sometime this year.
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, I think they've moved it around. You guys probably do the same thing. You're trying to work around the heat, the cold, the fire season.
Yeah,
That's been a big one for us, is the smoke, trying to steer around that. but I think it's like early August. Either way, yeah, you get some, but I think he's trying to move it up, but he has to go against some of the high altitude snow being gone.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's super fun and it's not real long. So, you know, you can get it done. If you're really fast, you can get it really done fast, but you can also, even if you're not real fast, you can get it done in a few days easily.
Nice.
Yeah. And have a really good time and have, you know, be in spectacular landscapes every day. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
You talked me into it. I'm in.
Yeah. You should come up for that one. I mean, yeah, it's a no brainer.
Cool.
For sure. You can camp in my yard.
Okay. I'll truck camp in your yard, man. Sounds perfect.
Bike path goes straight to the start. So
amazing.
yeah.
Cool. All right, Blake.
All right.
Well, let's get you out of here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
I
And
appreciate it.
We'll see you at CTR.